Hello, good afternoon, everyone, or rather good evening already. Welcome to the press conference after the May Foreign Affairs Council. High Representative will brief you about the content of the discussions, and then we will take very few questions because we are running late and HRVP has another event to attend to here in the Council. So with this, High Representative, I give you the floor.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you to all of you for attending this press conference. I will try to summarize what has been, as always, a long day. The Council has a focus, as always, on the Ukrainian issue and how to support Ukraine. We have an interesting lunch with the 6 Western Balkan foreign ministers, and we receive a report on the situation in the Horn of Africa. But let me start by pointing a concrete decision, the adoption of the 8th package of sanctions against Iran for human rights violations, including the latest executions of 3 protesters that we have condemned strongly. We condemn also the recent execution of a Swedish dual citizen. And on the other hand, there is a good news, the release of 2 detained European Union citizens on the 12th of May. We also mentioned, I did it during our meeting this morning, the yesterday International Day of Solidarity with Political Prisoners in Belarus. We know that there are more than 1,500 people detained in appalling conditions. We don't forget them. We have been discussing the situation in Belarus, and we will also come to the final stage on the work of sanctions of interference in Moldova. I hope this will be finalized in the coming days. On Ukraine, the success and extent of Ukraine's defense depends not only on the bravery of their soldiers and their people, but also on the pace of ammunition and weapons, the pace of deliveries. And that's why our military support has to continue, has to increase, has to be extended, more air defense systems. This will make a real difference in the battlefield. This is crucial. I explained to the Foreign Affairs Ministers how the work of our people at the External Action Service with the European Defence Agency and the Commission on supplying of weapons, ammunition and missiles. This is crucial for the Ukrainians being able to defend their territory and their sovereignty. I stress that every day of delay in our deliveries has to be measured on human lives. It's not a matter of money, it's a matter of people being killed, soldiers being killed or wounded. I urge all the ministers to speed up the delivery and to participate in the joint procurement of ammunition for Ukraine and to finalize the work for the next tranche of the European Peace Facility. Good news, the European training mission has completed its initial goal of training 15,000 Ukrainian soldiers, and we will train another 15,000 by the end of the year. We discussed about the 11th package of sanctions. The focus is on the circumvention of the sanctions that is taking place. We have to cut these circuits of circumventing sanctions, because otherwise the sanctions are being weakened. We heard explanations from David O'Sullivan, who is engaged on addressing circumvention with our partners around the world. We discussed about the situation in the battlefield, but also how to end this war. Everybody wants the war to finish. The only one that looks willing to continue the war is Putin. No one wishes peace more than Ukraine, and that's why we support the Ukrainians' initiative, the President Zelensky initiative for a just peace. no one who is really interested in peace can put the victim and the aggressor at the same level. I have to address this message to all leaders around the world who, yes, they are very much interested in peace, but they continue putting the victim and the aggressor on the same level. And this brings to a peace which is not a fair and a just peace that could ensure the rights of the Ukrainian people. We had a lunch with the Foreign Affairs ministers and the Western Balkan ministers. We do that regularly. Maybe we should do that more often. We discuss about the Russia influence, which is trying to derail the European path of the Western countries, the Western Balkan candidates. We welcome the strategic and courageous choices of some of them who align fully with our foreign policy and sanctions. And we also indicated to those who have not fully aligned yet or not aligned at all, and I want to mention notably Serbia, that maintaining close ties with Russia is not compatible with its European Union accession process. It's also damaging to its own national interest, but certainly is not compatible with the accession process towards the European Union. We want to advance on enlargement, and we send a strong message that they need to seize the momentum in the enlargement process created by the swift progress of Ukraine. Ukraine is progressing, they have to follow this path at the same pace. Now it's time for them to speed up reforms, to align with European Union standards, and to prepare their societies for accession. This is an opportunity, a unique opportunity. It has to use it. We mentioned specifically the Belgrade-Pristina dialogue. And once again, I have to explain that being a member of the European Union is an exercise of cooperation. It's an exercise of states that were fighting in the past to become not only neighbors, friends, partners. This is an exercise of living together. And for that, the full and swift implementation of the agreement is the only way for the normalization of relations between Belgrade and Pristina. Tensions and mutual provocations have to reach an end. And the negative atmosphere and lack of constructiveness also has to be reversed. Being a member of the European Union means being able to cooperate and to act as good neighbors, overcoming all the difficulties of the past. We discussed a lot about the situation in the Horn of Africa, where unhappily there are also very worrisome situations in Sudan, and there the ceasefire is the first priority. There are some agreements that should enter into force tonight, but as always, implementation is key. Agreements are good if they are implemented. Otherwise, they are useless. We will continue our support for a robust African-led framework, and we engage with partners to identify mediators, recognizing the pivotal role that Djibouti has been doing, and during the evacuation of our citizens out of Sudan, reconfirming that Kenya is our strong ally in the region, continues being a pillar of stability and playing an important role for the stabilization of the whole region. In Ethiopia, after 2 years of a devastating conflict, there is a progressive normalization of our relations. The signing of the cessation of hostilities agreement represents an important step toward peace and reconciliation in Ethiopia. Here also the word reconciliation after an awful war with countless atrocities It's the key word, and we will support this reconciliation process. This process requires a strong leadership and a sustainable monitoring mechanism to ensure that the cessation of hostilities is respected by all sides, paving the way for recovery, reconstruction, and reconciliation, the 3 Rs. They need recovery, economic recovery. They need reconstruction. They need reconciliation. Our ambassador in Addis Ababa sent me the other day pictures of his visits to the region of Tigray. It's a good sign of the gradually normalizing our relation with Ethiopia based on the progress made on these 3 requests. 3 requests, I want to repeat them. Cessation of hostilities, including the withdrawal of Eritrean troops, unimpeded humanitarian access to everywhere, all parts of the country, particularly in Tigray, but everywhere, and accountability for international humanitarian law and human rights violations and abuses. We have suspended our budget support to the Ethiopian government, but we have never stopped our support to the Ethiopian population. And we have prepared 2 packages of special measures worth 180 million euros to finance programs on the areas of health and education, with a special focus on the areas affected by the conflict. This package has been adopted and the Commission services will implement them. Finally, I am glad to announce that we have launched a new strategic communication task force specifically for Africa to step up our strategic communication in and with Africa and address the problems of foreign information manipulation and interference. Also, in Somalia, where we could launch the joint operational roadmap between us and the federal government of Somalia, which is going to be a long-standing partner. This joint operational roadmap will be launched earlier next month. I think that's all.
Thank you very much, High Representative. And now we take 2 questions. Rosie, you can go ahead. There are 2 microphones in the room.
Thank you very much. Rosie Burchard for DW. High Representative, it's a question on sanctions circumvention. You've said that Indian refiners selling Russian oil into Europe undermines the effectiveness of EU sanctions, even if no rules are being broken. So can you lay out what you think the problem is and what action you hope Member States will take? Thank you.
Look, I've been analyzing cases in which, yes, we cut export to Russia, but we increased a lot the exports to the neighbors of Russia. Before talking to this specific case, let me say that, for example, we have decreased our exports of cars to Russia by almost 80%, 80% less. But at the same time, we have increased the export of cars to some of the Central Asian countries by almost 300%. It's a little bit strange, this appetite for European cars suddenly in some neighbors of Russia. It's not a stupid idea to imagine that these cars are being imported and afterwards re-exported. And in this case, it would be a circumvention. On the case of India, I said clearly that if India, I want to repeat, if India buys Russian oil, it's legal, it's normal. I haven't blamed the Indian government at all. So don't look for trouble. I haven't blamed because it's perfectly legal. Our sanctions are not extraterritorial. Our firms are being bound by our decisions, but I cannot impose my will to the Indian government or the Indian companies. So that is the end by Russian oil, it's normal. And if thanks to our limitations on the price of oil, India can buy this oil cheaper, well, Russia gets less money. So the less the better. But at the same time, one has to look at that and say, look, India is importing a lot of Russian oil. Almost 36% of the export of Russian oil goes to Russia, to India. And then the exports of refined products to Europe has been multiplied almost by 7. So once again, I am not blaming the Indian exports. They do what they want to do. They are free. I cannot impose European rules. And maybe you can consider that a refined product is a different product from oil. But the fact is that we don't import Russian oil, but we import distilled products coming from Russian oil. The result, from the point of view of circumvention, one can imagine that it's something clear. But this is the things that we have to study and to see what we can do. But I insisted, I never blamed the Indian government, nor the Indian refiners. I cannot prevent them from doing that. If they have a good price because we impose caps to the Russian oil, it's good for them, and it's good for us because Russia gets less money for the oil they are selling.
Thank you. And the last question, Sándor.
Thanks. This is Sándor Zsíros from Euronews. High Representative, I understand that Hungary is blocking the agreement on the next tranche of European peace facility to Ukraine, and they are saying that they want Ukraine to withdraw one Hungarian company, OTP Bank, for a so-called war sponsor list. Do you think it's a justified demand? Is it really up to the European Union to deal with Ukrainian government to, release different companies from this list, or it should be more bilateral issue for Hungary and Ukraine? And also I would like to ask if you got any feedback from Ukraine, what the solution could be on this matter. Thank you.
Bilateral, multilateral, we have to do everything we can in order to make the next package of military support to Ukraine being approved. If one member state have a difficulty, let's discuss about it. That's what we are going to do. And my role is to talk with everybody in order to try to look for solutions. Until now, we have been able to look for to find solutions for everyone, for every tranche of military support. And I'm sure we will be able to continue doing the same thing. This will require conversation among us.
Thank you, and that's it. Sorry for taking only 2 questions, but we really have to run, so thank you for coming and have a nice evening. See you tomorrow. Bye.